Well, good morning and good Sabbath, and welcome, everyone. This is really neat. I'm sorry. I love this. A full house. All right. Well, here we do meet on the first day of unleavened bread, which kind of overshadows another day that is not very often talked about, but it is an important day because it's kind of a control day. A controlled day in the timing of God's plan of salvation. And that day is spoken of in Leviticus chapter 23. If you'd like to turn there, I'll give you a moment. And to the young folks in the audience, this is not the long one. This is the shorter one. Okay, let us begin in 23 and Leviticus 23 and verse 9. Called the Feast of First Fruits. That should be familiar to us all. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When ye come into the land which I give unto you, or his kingdom, as we're looking forward to, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord to be accepted for you. On the morrow, after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. Now, as many people would look, this is the Old Testament doesn't really have all that much application to modern times. But let us turn to John chapter 20 and see if Jesus didn't place his stamp of approval on the Wave Sheaf Offering Day. And see if he used it for his plan of salvation. John chapter 20 in verse 11. Here it says, Jesus appears to Mary Magdalene. And there's a little scripture here, but it finally comes to the point. Chapter 20 and verse 11 says, But Mary stood without at the sepulchre weeping. And as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre. And she sees two angels in white sitting, one at the head and the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had lain. And they said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? She saith unto them, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they've taken him. She was distraught beyond belief. Distraught beyond belief. Just as the disciples were. They had left and returned to their abode. It says, And when she had said this, she turned herself back, and she saw Jesus standing, and knew not that it was Jesus. That's how distraught she was. And Jesus saith unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? And she, supposing him to be the gardener, saith unto him, Sir, if you have borne him hence, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. And Jesus saith unto her, Mary. She turned herself and saith unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. And Jesus saith unto her, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father. Why would he ascend to the Father? He is the first fruits. He went to the Father to be accepted as the first of the first fruits. He had done all that he could do. It says, But go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and to your God and to our God. We are there. We are part of all of this. We should understand that. So today is also the Wave Sheaf Offering Day. is that Sabbath, that Sunday, that is contained within the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is the only Sunday within that feast. He proclaimed that when he was crucified, dead, and buried. Was buried on the first day of unleavened bread after the Passover. Had a Friday or a preparation day in between, and then it had a weekly Sabbath. And that weekly Sabbath was when Jesus came out of the grave, just before sundown. 3 days and 3 nights. The world cannot understand, will not accept, for a majority, that Jesus and God the Father have a plan of salvation, and that their timing is perfect. All right, we have superimposed the Julian calendar or the Roman calendar over top of the calculated Hebrew calendar, and we have got mixed up with our days that we normally adhere to, but not God's days. They're totally in line with all of this. So why is the Wave Sheaf Offering and Day important? We begin the count to what's called the Feast of Weeks, all right? Or Pentecost. That's 7 weeks. That's why we call it the Feast of Weeks. You see, identities get blurred here, kind of, at times. All right? You can call it the Feast of Weeks you want to. I call it Pentecost. That is the day that God used. And we'll talk about that more when we get closer to the day of Pentecost. But just understand that we begin that count, including this day, Pentecost. All right. Any questions or comments? Let's continue on with our service.